To give it a little history about Innsbruck, I was born and raised just down the road from there on Pemberton Road. So Tilly's Dance Hall was across the street. Everyone that was living in Richmond at that time knew about Tilly's because they would drive out to the country to the Tilly's Dance Hall. Mr. Knuckles, who lived there on the farm, and that was the original plot of land that was Innsbruck. And they were raising cows there when we were cutting roads in. I was grading and clearing lots for Stern Realty, and they had bought this property on Broad Street. They gave me the opportunity to clear some of the exploratory roads that moved through the property so that potential buyers could come in and see what the property looked like.
Innsbruck in the aggregate, it was a not insignificant source of revenue, which always captured my attention. So I, as the numbers guy, was drawn to it. The production people were drawn to it because they had a lot of work to do in a condensed area. But for me, in my little world, it was money.
Innsbruck, of course, was a new development, and as the economies went up or down, we had to ride the wave, and it was a source of opportunity for us. So those who developed Innsbruck, they gave us opportunity, and then the general contractors and developers. And it was one of the earlier projects as Richmond was changing from old Richmond from the 60s and 70s to a more trendy atmosphere for a lot of people at that time.
When I was a little kid, I always heard the world ended at Parham Road. I think Westland Shopping Center, that's where the first shopping center or church or anything of any substance that looked like suburbia started. I think it was probably around 98. We were pursuing a lot of work in Innsbruck, and at the time, office buildings were very popular. And we ended up working a lot with a company called Clancy and Thays, Bill Goggins, Tommy Glasgow, that morphed into a project at the end of Cox Road at Innsbruck, which at the time was going to be an operations center for Capital One. The city of Richmond did not have much rural land or natural land left, and everyone in town always knew that they had this big last chunk of land out there at the end of the Willie Bridge. And we had first learned that there was a developer considering on putting a mall there. Well, it just so happened that the Pruitts and Short Pump were simultaneously building their mall. So it was somewhat of a competition to see who could open first. The one in Stony Point out in city of Richmond on the other side of the river, or the one in Short Pump.
Well, it was a race. It was not our race.
Yeah,
We had a schedule to meet because we're contractually obligated, but it became a race between the developer of Stony Point and the developer of the Short Pump Mall. We had 54 acres of work surface, and we moved 1 million yards of dirt and several 100,000 yards of topsoil, which had to be trucked off the site. But it definitely was a race between the two developers.
That was probably the job that we moved the most dirt in a single day. We were moving something like anywhere from 20,000 to 26,000 yards a day. At one time, I think we were running actually 8 scrapers at the same time, and a couple off-road trucks and a tractor.
In the dirt community here in Richmond, all the big dirt movers had their eyes on that job. They were looking at what we were doing. And I think it sort of put us on the map within the general contracting community that these dudes can move heavy dirt.
I saw a note in my diary where I had to find something for 39 people to do. And then Chuck, he lived near there. He was a resident of that part of town, and he came there every day and would stand up on the hill and watch us work.
The 90s and 2000s, there was spots all along Broad that were getting developed around rural areas, but when you got to Pontchartrain and Broad, that intersection is really starting to develop as well. The Pruitts had developed a huge mall there. Prior to that, we had built the Lowe's, the Walmart, the movie theater across the street. It was a lot of things happening all at once. And this is about the time I'm getting out of school, and all I know is economically is from the time I got out of college right up to 2008, there was so much work going on. You didn't have to, the work just fell in your lap. And all we knew was grow, hire more people, because there was plenty of opportunity to do that.